Good morning, and welcome to the International Mastermind show on Think and Grow Rich. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist, and I am just really excited about this show. How do you like the new digs, right? We got a new setup. We're trying something a little new, and we are streaming live on Facebook, and we're streaming live on YouTube. And you can this isn't just a stream, you can actually interact with us. So throughout the conversation, you can type in comments on whatever platform you're watching this, and we'll be able to get those comments and interact with you. So let's give this thing a try. I'm also excited about today's topic. Today, we're going to be talking about faith. And faith is one of those things that we hear a lot about, and we know the importance of having faith. But what are the actual steps in developing faith, and how does that fit into this Think and Grow Rich process? And so we're going to dive into that. And then also we've got a guest. We always have amazing guests, and today is no different. Emelda Wallace, she is the absolute perfect person to talk about faith. She is an ordained elder. She has been educated in so many different levels on how to be at a place where you can exercise your faith, and she's actually known as the encourager. So we're going to hear from her. But before we get too far into this conversation, I want to bring onto the screen and into this conversation my co-host, because otherwise I can absolutely have this conversation with you for the next hour, and they're not going to like me very much if I do that. So first, I want to bring up Dr. Peter James. So Dr. Peter, come on into the conversation and just welcome. Why is this topic and this chapter so exciting and interesting to you?
Well, Galen, it's good to see you again this morning, and I'm excited to jump on in. First of all, that new intro we had there was nice. I loved it. Excited for us as we move forward, as we continue to evolve. This is phenomenal. And we have such a special guest today. I'm looking forward to chatting it up with her, Galen. It's going to be phenomenal as we dive into this chapter called Faith, Chapter 2 of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. But what I'm really excited about today, especially as it relates to our special guest, is that she has a faith background, right? So as we merge the two, Chapter 2 of Napoleon Hill's book and her background, I'm excited to see the link there. And so, as you can see, I'm ready to dive on in. I'm Dr. Peter James, the high performance coach. And Galen, let's get it going, man.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you for being part of this conversation. Well, also we've got Miss Ersula Odom. Ersula, come on into the conversation, CEO of Sula Too. But why is this chapter such an important part of this process? And why is this such an important part of how you do what you do?
Thank you, Galen. It is actually wonderful to be a part of this conversation this morning, because in February, on the 28th day, 2018, I wrote it in the margin of this chapter that this is what got my attention. I'm excited about this conversation because it spoke to me then and it speaks to me now. And based on the pre-show, Emelda is going to speak to us today. So as the CEO of Sula Too, we love all of those stories, and we're going to pull them all together today because we make old new in everything we do. And it's all about the story and the journey. So I am excited about today.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, you're right. We had an incredible pre-show, and we had to say, okay, we need to stop talking because this conversation needs to be in front of our guests, in front of our audience, because she was just really teaching and speaking into us. And then so I've got to bring in our fearless leader, Miss Ann McNeill, the wealth builder, the master wealth builder. This is just part of your vision. This particular show, I think, you envisioned many, many years ago. Why is this show so important? This episode, why is this so important?
Well, Galen, this is very exciting, especially having Dr. Emelda Wallace. I'm calling her Dr. Emelda Wallace on today with us because she has already exemplified what faith looks like by calling herself Emelda Faith Wallace. So this is going to be a very exciting show. And for me, the faith works when you work it. The faith works, but only when you work it. And so I have a personal saying, a motto that says, I work like it all depends on me, but I pray and have faith like it all depends on God. So let's get this party started.
I love that. I love that. I think you might hear someone saying, boy, Galen's got this interesting phrase. Have you heard it before? Because I like that. I might borrow it.
You can have it.
All right. Well, hey, let's bring in our guest and Dr. Emelda Wallace. I love it. She come on into the conversation. We'd love to have you here. You are an ordained elder, and I am so glad that the New Birth Baptist Church has allowed us to experience you this morning. But not only that, I mean, Grambling State, I mean, that's pretty strong. You've done some work with Dr. E.V. Hill Bible College, Barry University, PhD candidate. This is pretty strong. I mean, you do this faith thing for real.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit more about your background and your journey. How did you end up at a place where you're sitting with us right now and just got all of us really, really excited about what you're going to be able to add to our understanding about faith?
Well, if I can start with speaking about Miss Ann. I met Miss Ann at New Birth. She was over the investment club ministry. And Nefreda Thomas introduced me to her. And it was amazing. And I remember running from Ann because when you talk to Ann, you always had to have something that you were thinking about that you were going to accomplish. And I never forgot about that. She would always say, you have to have a dream in order to have that dream come true. And I never forgot that. And so it started me on my journey. And a lot of times I got off the journey and I had to get back on the journey. But I am here today. And I am so happy to be a part of this show.
Well, fantastic. Well, hey, we're all looking forward to this conversation. One of the things that I talk about a lot before we get into our conversation with you, I talk about a lot the fact that this is one element of a system that Napoleon Hill has compiled, and definitely want to get your insights as to the importance of this entire system, but then faith in particular. But it might be helpful, Dr. Peter, if you could just kind of talk to us about what are some of the other elements of this process, because we could talk about faith by itself, and we're going to highlight faith, but this sits in part of an overall philosophy.
Galen, it's dangerous to pass the mic to me, man. I have to tell you. So, Emelda, thank you again so much for being with us this morning. I'm so excited to dive into what faith, how it really translates for us, but also how it ties into faith as we normally think about it as well. In Napoleon Hill's phenomenal book, Think and Grow Rich, which is the backdrop of these entire sessions that we have here, this entire show, it has 13 steps, faith being one of them. But it's important to really see and understand the breadth of this entire book. And there's no better way for us to really analyze it by hearing all of these different steps. So if you could, ladies and gentlemen, please take a listen to the 13 steps of Think and Grow Rich.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
Great stuff there. Thank you so much, folks, for listening to the 13 steps as detailed in Napoleon Hill's phenomenal book, Think and Grow Rich. But let's dive back into this conversation if we could. And Emelda, again, as I mentioned earlier, Galen really did did us wrong by passing me the mic, because I got a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions here. But I want to start off with page 48 of the text. And for those of you who are listening in and are not familiar with this book, dive into page 48 if you could. And I want to read a little bit about what it says about faith, what Napoleon Hill says about faith, because I think Napoleon Hill had a lot of faith from a spiritual perspective at that. So I'm going to read just a little bit of what the text says. And then, Emelda, I'm going to ask you, what is your correlation between Think and Grow Rich and spiritual faith, if you could? So hear me out really quick. Faith is the starting point of all accumulation of riches. Faith is the basis of all miracles and all mysteries which cannot be analyzed by the rules of science. Faith is the only antidote for failure. Faith is the element, the chemical, which when mixed with prayer gives one direct communication with the infinite intelligence. Faith is the element which transforms the ordinary vibration of thought created by the finite human mind into its spiritual equivalents. Faith is the only agency through which the cosmic force of infinite intelligence can be harnessed and used by humanity. So as you read that chapter before, Emelda, what resonated from a faith perspective as you know it?
When you went to page 48, my mind went back to where it says, perfection will come through practice.
Yeah.
It cannot come by merely reading instructions. You have to take action. And when I first started this journey with Think and Grow Rich, being connected with Ann, I think it was back in 2007, and I became a part of a mastermind group called Call to Conquer. And it was the accountability of us spending time reading the book, taking the journey page by page, reporting in and giving our story. And we had to keep doing the work. A lot of times we don't want to do the work. We can say we have faith, but faith without works is dead. So if we continue to say, oh, I want to do this, you have an action plan. What are you doing? So you have to make it work by getting up, doing the work. I sacrifice my time. I enjoy listening to the Greatest Salesman's video because he talks about getting a habit. Yeah. And my new habit now is getting up at 4 a.m. to do the work to produce my definite chief aim. All those things are tied in and contributed to me being successful in my goals.
I love that. I want to finish it off, Galen, before I pass it back to you. My favorite verse, one of my favorite verses in the Bible is Hebrews 11, verse 1, which says, faith is the evidence of things, the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Let me say that again. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So along with these works that you described, what must we also have from a mental perspective?
A mindset, a positive mindset. And that's daily. Even throughout the day, I have to encourage myself to do the work, to stay focused. Because a lot of things that are around us distract us, even in this pandemic. A lot of things distract us throughout the day. And so one of my coworkers came to me yesterday and she said, how do you stay disciplined? I say, because I have to do the work. I showed her, I walk. I remember seeing Ann in church on Sundays with this tote bag, and she would have her journals in there and her books, and I would catch her writing things down. And I always use her as a point of reference because I've watched her do the work. And so I log my tote bag with me to work with my faith book in it, my Bible, my journal, which I do my self-confidence formula daily, my Think and Grow Rich book, also my journal. I use my journal, my faith journal. I take that with me. And I take those things out when I'm feeling discouraged or when I feel like I'm getting distracted to remind myself what I need to do to stay focused. Yeah, so you have to do the work. We don't want to do the work. We want it to happen now, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I always say there's no such thing as overnight success. So are
Right.
you willing to do the work, and do you have the faith to believe that it's going to happen?
Yes, and
Galen,
you have to keep things before you. Vision boards.
yeah.
I keep my affirmations, my screensaver on my phone. The background is my affirmations because that reminds me that those things you have to keep before you.
And what I'm hearing from you also is that you have to almost put in the work, but also continue to remind your brain
Yes.
to stay focused. And that's the mindset that I think you're describing there as well. Galen, I could chat with her all day. So I'm
Yeah.
going to pass the baton back to you before that happens.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, so I want to bring Ersula into the conversation, but before we do that, I just want to acknowledge some of the folks that are joining us via these various platforms, and you can text in your comments. I see Johnny Lloyd. Johnny Lloyd is here. Incredible. I've had some opportunities to work with her on Clubhouse as we talk about Think and Grow Rich in a variety of different settings. So just really deep knowledge and passion for this space. Dr. Vibe, longtime friend of the show and personal friend and mentor. He's here watching us. And just a variety of folks. So definitely, as you're live streaming and you're watching us, chat in. Let me know you're there. Let me know you're there so that I can see the International Mastermind Association. Everyone's coming in. I see Jada Williams. Oh my gosh, Jada Williams is there, and that means she's probably got her crew watching as well. So definitely interact with us because we want to work your questions into this conversation. Don't miss this opportunity to discuss faith with someone who has studied this at a very deep level. And I lied, Ursula. Let me just sneak in one quick question. Because I'm curious, very often when I speak with people who have studied the Bible at a really in-depth level and they're preparing to teach at an in-depth level, they use the Bible as their only source of reference. And I get that. But I'm curious as to how this book, this Think and Grow Rich book, fits into your arsenal of information that you pull from to help people understand their purpose here on earth, their mission, and what they were put here to do. How do you use this?
Well, this book is like, I've heard someone say once that it's like a second Bible, but I use the principles in the book to help direct me and guide me. I don't just focus on the Bible. I use other books that help me. And Think and Grow Rich has been a part of my journey since 2007. And I followed the principles to help me to succeed in those things that I desire to do and have.
Well, fantastic. That's great advice for everyone, to pull information from as many sources as you can. And this has definitely been a great guide for me. So Ursula, let me bring you into the conversation. I know you were a big part of our pre-show conversation about this topic. And I almost had to shut you down so that we could share that in front of our audience. So now is the time. Let's rekindle that conversation.
And now I'm enjoying the conversation so much. I'm just going But I tell you what, this particular chapter is important to me because I've heard about Think and Grow Rich for years. I mean, being a part of corporate America, and that's the motivational things they used to throw at you. I have old copies of Think and Grow Rich, but when I joined a mastermind group with Miss Ann McNeill, and I came across the the statement on page 51. It said, first, and it's a part of the self-confidence formula, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action toward its attainment. And I here and now promise to render such action. And when I saw in the intro that the word that led up to my face was act, I said, cool, that works. And so I've always been told by my grandmother that I was blessed. So I have the ability to do things. But then do I have the faith in my ability to do it for myself? I did it for corporate America, made millions for them, handled millions for them. But do I have the faith to do it myself? And this gave me the action or the direction to just take one step at a time, act on the things that you know that you can do, and promise to yourself that you're going to do it. So this happened for me on February 27th, 2018. What was your transition or your awakening for yourself in any of this?
I would say I've had many experiences and I've had many failures, and I just kept getting back in the game. I kept getting back in my race. It was my race that I had to run. And so even when I failed, I kept reminding myself, this is about you. You want to live on purpose. You say you want to do this, then you have to do what it takes. So I've had many experiences where I had to get back in my race again, stay connected to those who are like-minded. And that's a part of being in a group, a mastermind group, being connected to Clarity Mastermind. A lot of times, like I said, it really, for me, faith works when you work it. And I look at faith like love. You may be rejected, disappointed, or told no, but you just keep doing and being who you are and loving the way that God loves us, regardless if no one loves you back. You just keep doing what needs to be done to make things happen.
Oh, wow. So this is one of those days where I won't talk a lot because I'm enjoying listening. Gotcha, Galen. I'm not going to monopolize today.
And may I add something else? May I add something else? I was reading about Abraham Lincoln. A lot of people think that because of our age, we can't do or we shouldn't do, or if I missed my turn. You don't miss your turn. You just give up. He was 40 years old. It wasn't until he was 40 years old that he had an experience. And part of that, it was emotional. It was sorrow and emotions, and it was love, the love of his wife. It's important for us to stay connected to people that will encourage us to keep going, and what we get in our mind and what we even telling ourselves, because we can self-sabotage ourselves. No one has to put us down. We do that well, but you have to keep motivating yourself and encouraging yourself daily and speaking life over yourself daily. It's not easy, but it's the work. We don't want to do the work.
Okay, so I told a tale. You just reminded me of another part of the chapter that was it's profound. It talks about this person that destroyed himself financially, and they found him in a room talking about how he had messed up his life pretty much, and he virtually committed mental suicide. And I think we do that in little bits and pieces all the time and don't realize that what we're doing. And that's that negative talk to ourselves. And so that to me is a manifestation of not having faith when you start saying those kinds of things. How do you see that play out?
I read that last night, and I thought that was amazing because we do that. We speak. I can tell, like this, even this show, I said to myself, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And I had to tell myself, no, you're ready. But writing the self-confidence formula, listening to different videos, things that would encourage me, inspire me to think different, helps me to move forward and not be afraid, even doing it afraid. I have to keep in my mind, I have to keep telling myself daily. That's why it's important to read the affirmations and to speak positive things over your life and not the negative. And those negative things seep in, but you have to immediately block them out.
Right.
You have to recognize it and shift in your mindset to tell yourself, no, I can do all things through. I use scripture. I use my self-confidence formula. I use various of things that will help me to think different.
And you almost said my daughter's birthday, Philippians 4:13. So love it.
Yeah, well,
Y'all
I
back to
I love this conversation. We got so many more people that are chiming in from the various sites that we're streaming. We've got Rhonda Grayer coming in from Facebook. She just wanted to say good morning, that she's here. Helene is coming in from Brooklyn, and she's watching on YouTube. And she's got a question down below that we definitely want to get to. But Teresa is saying good morning, and she is just really saying that she's like excited because you are a great inspiration and a true woman of faith, and we're seeing that already just in this first half of the show. But let's go back to Helene's question, because Helene is, first of all, Helene is an amazing executive coach, and she works all over the world. And she is asking Ersula specifically, if you feel you've realized that, do you feel that now that you've realized that you're not doing it, you're not putting in the work for corporate America anymore, that you are capable of more? Has that ever come into your mind, that there's more to me than what I'm able to do here?
Yes. Absolutely. And I wouldn't change it for the world. That was a great foundation, but now I get to see a direct impact on people by the things that I do on their behalf, for them. And that's a greater feeling. There was a woman who owned a bookstore. She has since passed away, Felicia Winton. I went to her to talk to her about when I wanted to write my first book. And we talked and talked and talked and talked. And finally, she said, Ursula, it's not how many lives that you impact, but that you impact lives. So every single time that someone says, oh, what you said to me made me go talk to my grandmother and I wrote her story, or they are motivated by anything that I do, I think of this person. She is brought back to life in my heart because she said, not how many, but you affect lives. So that one life to me was important. As opposed to making those millions for a corporation that was, nebulous to me. I was just doing what I had to do, enjoyed it, but now I see the direct benefit of the things that I do. Oh,
fantastic. And then so Emelda, what's your take on that question? Because I sense that you had something to add there as well.
Well, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Just this feeling that that you're capable of doing more than what corporate America or your job at time allows you to do. Does that ever impact you? Do you ever have that feeling
that I do more here in the world other than corporate America? Absolutely. Yeah. But that comes with me being connected with different people and the experiences that I've had. If I just stay stuck on my job, and that happened to me over the years. I thought that, okay, this is it. This is Dade County. I'm going to retire from the county. That's going to be it. And no, it wasn't until I got connected with like-minded people like Ann. Ann has been and I always talk about you because you are so amazing. You are my point of reference. And I thank God for you. But the connection that I'm getting, meeting all of you, the women and men that are part of the Clarity Mastermind group, my Think and Grow Rich group, even organizations that I'm a part of, being connected to those people have now become a part of my definite chief aim. For it's all incorporated in that, me being connected to different people. And it's really been a blessing. And now I don't just think about retiring from the county. No, there's more to me. I have a purpose to do more. I often say I do this little thing on Facebook Live on Fridays called Faith Focus Friday with Emelda. And I often say, if I can just touch one person. And oftentimes I've touched many because I get inboxes, I get a text message, or and I realize there's more work for me to do. It's not just about me being connected to a job. I love my job, but there's more work for me to do here in the world.
Well, fantastic. Well, we got boy, I tell you, the chat line is really lighting up. We got Teresa Davis chiming in. Fantastic. Bernadette Ford has joined, and she's just so thankful to all the conversation that we're having. I want to go back to Helene, because you mentioned Clarity Mastermind, and Helene and I are involved in a mastermind as well. One of the questions that she asked offline, I'm going to bring in Miss Ann McNeill to be part of this. Emelda, you mentioned the self-confidence formula, and Helene and I have taken on the challenge of writing the self-confidence formula every day and trying to commit it to memory and use it as part of an affirmation structure, just as Emelda talked about how she uses scripture and that kind of thing. And so one of the questions, and I'm going to put Helene on blast because she asked, how many days should we write this thing? I mean, we're 10 days in. So how many days should we write this thing? So Emelda, and what are your thoughts, right? Come on now, we've done 10.
Well, Emelda could answer this probably better than I can, and I don't think it ever really ends. And so can Ersula, because when she began to memorize the self-confidence formula years ago, it's almost like asking, when do I stop saying the Lord's Prayer? The answer lies within, when you no longer need it. And as long as you feel that you need to increase your self-confidence, then you should continue to memorize, write, recite, and or listen to it. And so what you've not said yet, Galen, we're all waiting, especially the men that's listening in. And that's the fact that you and Dr. Banks just joined us as a part of the McNeill Factor Clarity Mastermind group. And so maybe you want to share, that experience, because it has not been very long. But I will say to you that for many of us, it's years. It's years. And one of the reasons why I started the McNeill Factor Clarity Mastermind Self-Confidence Formula Challenge is because I'm challenged in my self-confidence to take it to another level, and then another level, and then another level. I don't think that there's an end to it.
Well, that's kind of what I said, but it sounded kind of mean for me to say it. So I'm glad that you could carry the big stick this time. So, Ann, I know that you and Emelda go back a ways. What questions do you have for her about faith and how she's leveraging faith? It not only in the work that she's doing in the vocation that she has, but just in living out her life.
Well, I think that one of the things that connects us, and that's Emelda and I and myself, is not just our faith, but our relationship and our involvement in the church that we both worship at, which was New Birth Baptist Church. And I was raised by a Baptist minister. My mom was a Baptist minister. Very different. Big hold up. Big difference for those of you that know. Holiness minister. And I say that to come back to your question about Emelda. So I was taught the word 6 to 7 days a week in church. But what I did not know until later on was how to live my faith. And how do I apply the faith that my mom taught me? But it was not until I began to have a relationship with my own God, not her God, even with the same God. And so in my relationship with Emelda, I always challenged her because I see so much more in her. And I'd like for her, this is my question to you, Emelda, if you would share, because I've watched you go from journey to journey to journey to now you're working on getting your PhD. And I'd also like you to share the question I asked you about why. Because I think it's very important that as we learn to live and walk by faith, that we continue to demonstrate. Now, I'm not saying that it's all about the money, but I do believe that when we're able to take what we're learning, monetize it, we can then teach it. And then also there's some financial benefits to that. That's another show for another day. So my question to you, Emelda, is that if you would be willing to share with us, and it doesn't have to be long, but your journey and how you use your faith to go from degree to degree to degree to now the ultimate PhD degree, and why?
Well, that journey, as I said before, started with being connected to Ann. And I can't help it. I keep saying it, you're a point of reference. And I watch you do the work. And so I kept believing that I could. And even when I fell short, I just kept believing that I could. And there's a purpose. I wanted to get my degree. I'm working. And I remember when I completed my master's, Ann called me Dr. Wallace. I said, I am not doing that. And when I tell you, I stepped out on faith and the door was wide open. So even getting in the program, what others went through to get in, I didn't even have to have that experience. The favor of God just showed up because I moved out on faith. And my purpose for getting my degrees and being connected and doing the work is because I want to inspire and encourage others. I want to teach at my goal is to teach at a university on team building. And that's the purpose of my degree, as well as train leaders in ministry to be encouraged and continue on their journey. If you say that God has called you to do this work, then I believe that we need continued training to be encouraged to do the work, to be inspired. So all of these things tie in. My lap fashion, I use that as a ministry to give back. Although I'm sometimes charged, but I also bless people with those lap fashions as a part of me giving back to the community and those that are walking in faith. You never know the prayer that others pray, and God will use us in so many different ways to be a blessing to others. And so I just want to live on purpose. So I'm constantly doing the work that I need to do, that when God put those things in my spirit, to just continue out on this journey so I can perform and do what I'm supposed to do, as well as get money. I do want to get paid for some things that I do, but my main focus is just living on purpose and doing what I'm put here to do.
Well, fantastic. And
I don't know if that answered the question, Ann.
Yes, it did. And of course, I had another question which Galen is going to ask.
Go for it, Miss Ann, because I was going to get you to talk about the annual meeting. So go ahead.
Okay, well, I want to ask Emelda, what is a lap fashion? Can you share?
Yes, a lap fashion, for those of you that, your grandmother used to sit in church on Sunday morning in the front row and she put that shawl on her lap. That's lap fashion. And I remember praying and asking God, what can I give back? And I said, well, I need to get a sewing machine. And I'm telling you, it's so powerful how when you purpose in your heart to do a thing, God will grant you favor and bring people into the equation to make things happen for you. I got blessed just because I thought it in my mind. I prayed about it and I stepped out on faith to go and look for the sewing machine. At the time, I didn't have the money to pay for it. And I said, well, I'll put it on layaway. A gentleman friend of mine came by and blessed me with the money for the machine. So when we purpose things in our heart to do, God will open the door wide open for things to happen and people will bless you. He will favor you. It's amazing. I asked God I wanted to be a point of reference in faith. And it has not always been easy, but I kept doing the work. I had to keep saying that because we don't want to do the work. Galen, you have to, that self-confidence formula, I think we've been writing it now since June, Ann. Has it been
Yes.
since June?
Yes.
Every day. Do I want to do it? No.
But what you want are the results and the benefits.
Yes, of course. Yes, I want to, and I see the results. I see the results in writing down my definite chief aim. And I have many now, small ones and big ones, but it works.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, I agree that there are some things that come with doing the work. You know, no one wants to do sit-ups, but everyone wants to look good on the beach, right? So, and I would love to, you and I have had a couple of opportunities to connect outside of this. And last night, actually, you and I were on a Clubhouse chat. And if people are familiar with Clubhouse, it's kind of this global opportunity to have a conversation. And Johnny Lloyd and Lefford Fade and I were running this conversation on Think and Grow Rich. And Satish Verma came into the room. And I was able to get you to come into the room, and everyone started talking about the how it really is about doing the work. There's nothing mystical or magical about this process. It's an encouragement to do the work that will lead to the results that we're all seeking. Talk a little bit about how that work part comes into this, because Emelda said earlier, I don't know where she got this from, but she said something about faith without works is dead. So talk to me a little bit about how does the work come into this thing?
Well, Galen, that's an excellent opportunity to also talk about the annual meeting. And we just had an annual meeting in January. We actually had two. We had one that was face-to-face, and the other one we had that was virtual. And I believe that everything starts with a desire. Now, this is where the work starts, because when you have a desire, you don't really need to know how it's going to be achieved. You just need to be very clear about whatever it is that you desire. Now, desire about what? What are your spiritual desires? We're talking about faith. That's a spiritual desire. Where is it written? What is your desire regarding your family? Where is it written? What's your desire about money? Napoleon Hill talks about think and grow rich, and he gives us a formula for how to make the money, how to get the money. But then what do you do with the money, right? What is your desire as it relates to your educational pursuits? Mm-hmm. What about your health? You can have all the money, but not the health, because your health is your wealth, right? So I can go through all of those 10 different areas that we focus on our desire, which also includes personal and professional development. That's what we're doing here today. But what about your desire in your business, if you are in a business, or maybe you're in a profession like one of the ladies talked about, corporate. Maybe you're an entrepreneur inside of corporate, or an entrepreneur outside. What is your desire in that regard? Well, what about your desire as relates to your recreational pursuits? Because, the work without some kind of fun planned, what is your desire in that area? Maybe you're interested in the civic involvement and being a philanthropist. Doesn't have to always be about the money. It could be about your time and your talent, not necessarily your treasure. What about your creativity? This entire pursuit, you talked about Clubhouse last night, that was a creative pursuit that someone created. And like I shared with you last night, Galen, I wanted to be a contrarian on Clubhouse with the group last night, because it's one thing to always talk about how wonderful and how great and how these things are. And somebody talked about loving doing the work. I don't think any of us in the very beginning, and Emelda's talked about this, about loving doing the work. I don't like doing this. I really don't. It's hard work, and Emelda is expressing that. So you talk about faith without works, but if you don't have a desire, you're not going to be pulled up and out to do the work. And so, Galen and everybody, I want to encourage you, join us every year in January. Do the work toward your desire. Write it down. It's called an annual report for your life. And many, many years ago, as Emelda talked about, she remembered coming to our investment club meetings at church. I started an investment club because I was broken, okay, and did not know the difference between saving and investing and working on a second, possibly a third degree. Yes, I can put that out there because that's my story. But at our annual meeting, and you can pull it up to you, but at our annual meeting, we help you decide how you're going to write those plans for your life. In 2022, January 7th through the 8th, we start with a reception. I call it, basically a meeting of the minds, where we have on Friday night, it's like an open mic. It's a founder's reception. And then on Saturday, January 8th, 2022, at the Embassy Suites Hotel in Boca Raton, you can join us with your family as we talk about the fact that your health is your wealth. But all this year, we're talking about your family and how do you live your faith inside your family. So Galen, I just wanted to just share that because I think it's very important that we continue the conversation all year to remind people we don't want to, I can't speak for those of you. I don't want to do the work. And Emelda and I, we've had this conversation and we meet each other, no conversation, we don't talk, but we actually meet each other every single morning in that group, private group called Clarity Mastermind, McNeill Factor Clarity Mastermind. So Galen, thank you so very much for the Clubhouse invite. And we're going to invite also others to join Lefford and Johnny and everybody else. How often is it, Galen?
These folks are crazy. We're doing this every night, every day.
Okay, great. Well, every day, what time?
5:30 Eastern time, 4:30
5:30 Eastern time. Join us.
I think we've got a different time. I think it's 3:30 or 3 o'clock on the weekends, but during the week, 5:30 Eastern time every day. And we're talking specifically about Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice. But you can't talk about Think and Grow Rich, a Black choice, which was written by Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, without bringing in principles from the Napoleon Hill classic written in 1937. So great conversation so far. As we circle back and try to discuss our ahas, I just wanted to acknowledge Esther Lambert is in the room. Thank you so much for joining us from YouTube. Jen Felton, she is joining us from Facebook and looks like she's planning on joining us on Clubhouse as well. Johnny Reed, continuing to share comments. Alicia Wright, thank you so much about talking about burning desire. You've got to have a burning desire. It's a difference between wanting something, wishing for something, and having a burning desire where no other option is going to satisfy. Valencia Warren Gibbs, amazing ambassador for the Think and Grow Rich process. Carolyn is here as well, and Dr. Vibe still hanging out with us. So what are your key ahas from this conversation? What are some things that really hit you? And I'll just share from my perspective that this is an ongoing thing, right? And I love the way Emelda and Ms. Ann said, you can stop working on this at the same level that you can stop working on the Lord's Prayer. You can stop working on loving other people. That's when you can probably stop working on building yourself to do this kind of work. And the part of the Bible that part of the book that I really, really like is when they said, a lot of religions talk about the importance of having faith, but they don't really talk about how you develop faith. And this book really talks about some of the steps, some of the concrete steps that you can take, some of the practical steps that you can take to develop faith and self-confidence. And, our guest today is definitely an example of doing that kind of work. What are some other ahas that you've gotten from this conversation? Let's go to you, Dr. Peter.
Yeah, Galen. I wrote down a ton of stuff this morning, man. So Emelda, I'm actually going to paraphrase some of the things that you said here. One of the things that you said when I first asked the question, you talked about faith as it relates to your mindset, and I really love that. I talk a lot about mindset in my own business and my own practice, and I love also that you said faith without works is dead. And that, even though I've heard that a million times before, for some reason it resonated today because when you're not working on your craft or your goal or your dream and you're just chilling a little too much, phone, Netflix, whatever the case may be, do you have faith in your dream or your goal? I'm just asking. That's how it resonated with me today, Galen. She also said faith works when you work it. Love that. I'm going to use that, Emelda. Hopefully you don't mind if I borrow that from you. And then I also kind of paraphrase, something that you said also, you can never be too old or too young to accomplish your goals or your dreams. And I hope that resonated with someone. And the final thing there, Galen, and this is actually not even something that Emelda said, but it resonated with me from a book that you recommended that I reread, that I'm in the process of doing so right now, Galen. In your career and your business, are you the chess player or the chess piece? He asked that again, really slow for everyone who's listening. In your career or your business, would you rather be the chess player or the chess piece? For those of you who know chess or even remotely know chess, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I got to ask that question because it's important to know what your goals, your dreams, and your desires are moving forward. And now, do you have the faith to be able to be who you desire to be? That's all I got, Galen.
Fantastic. How can people get a hold of you, Dr. Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. On any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAJames. And Dr. Peter James, the high performance coach. Great show, Galen, man. You are doing it. Emelda, you are doing it. Ersula, and you know how you two do. So come on.
All right. So Miss Ersula Odom, what are some of the ahas that you got from this conversation with Dr. Emelda Wallace?
Well, Dr. Emelda Wallace, your existence today in this conversation has sparked and motivated someone to ask the question that has gotten inside my head. Harleen, talking about corporate America, it has led to a realization that when I walked away from that corporate job, I had all the faith in the world because I didn't have to leave and I was doing real good, but I was pursuing my entrepreneurial spirit. And then it's like, okay, now what do I do? And coming up with or seeing the self-confidence formula, you just take one step at a time going forward and having faith in the fact that you can act and do the things that you now said that you're committed to doing. Promise to yourself to do it. But it also made me realize that there's been quite a bit of success. I mean, I've done well. But what's in my head, as far as my desire is concerned, it's still out there. And I'm still going for that. But maybe I should reflect on the fact that, okay, I had a wonderful corporate career that I enjoyed. I made that step that took faith. I am continuing to do the things that I want to do. And I still have a goal. And I'm still pursuing that. But that's not an answer. It's like, okay, you all have made me start thinking about stuff. That's all that means. That's my aha. I got to think about it.
Fantastic. How can people get a hold of you if they want to leverage your talents and bring that into their business and organizations?
Well, there are two things I'd like you to do, and that's to go to my website, sulatoo.com, SULATOO.com, and then go to my YouTube channel. If you search on Sula space 2, SULA space TOO, you will find the playlist, the videos that I've put out there, Wisdom and Young Legends, the interviews that I've done. And I want you to be a part of that. So, one, listen, subscribe, ring the bell, and then let me know that you want to be on the show.
Well, fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Master Wealth Builder. What did you get from this conversation? And how can people get a hold of you?
Well, Emelda reminded me of, and I want to challenge each of you with this because it's very humbling to hear her say how my persistence toward my goals have impacted her. And I'm sitting here asking myself the question, what if I'd quit? That's my aha. And I want to challenge each of you to think about what if you quit on your goal, your desire. The second aha from Emelda's comment reminded me of the auto-suggestion when she talked about faith and how she exhibits faith. And I think Galen, Peter, one of you asked a question about what is faith and how do you use it? And what she actually said was the power of auto-suggestion in the repetition. The repetition of the auto-suggestion is how you demonstrate your faith, whether it's an affirmation or the actual act of walking and stepping out on faith. And so, Emelda, I just want to just thank you for blessing me. What we did not talk about is her powerful voice on her Facebook profile, because literally there are hundreds of people that follow her on a daily basis whenever she says anything, because her voice is so empowering. And so, Emelda, we want to bless you and thank you for blessing us this morning. And Galen, thank you and our entire team. And we also want to say thank you and kudos for all of you that follow us every single Saturday here. And as we make this transition and going live on StreamYard to bless many others by the multiple streams, we want to just ask all of you, please continue to like, post, and share the show. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you, Ersula, at AM McNeill. But also, you can text the word ANN, A-N-N, by texting 55678 is a good way to connect with me. And just put in the word ANN, and that's my name, of course. And you will receive a copy of our 6 Keys to Riches from the Napoleon Hill philosophy. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And I definitely encourage everyone to make sure that you connect. It is absolutely worth the effort to connect with any of the people that you have heard from so far. And I'm going to end with Dr. Emelda Wallace. I'm going to help speak that into existence as well. Great conversation. What ahas did you get, either from things that you may have shared or from just the conversation in general? I think you're on mute right now.
Yeah, sorry about that. My aha moment this morning is being a part of the show with you all and knowing that I have been a blessing to you all is my aha moment.
Oh, you got to give us more than that. That sounded like one of those deflection. Come on now.
No, but it's truly a blessing to be here and to share. I'm just amazed. Me being on this show this morning, it was a thought in my mind. And today I'm here.
Well, fantastic. Well, how can people get a hold of you if they want to get more of what they've experienced, just a small bit of this morning?
My email is emeldawallace@gmail.com, and they could reach me there. Or on my Facebook, Emelda Wallace. It was Emelda Faith Focus Wallace. I think I'm going to change that back today.
Okay, fantastic. Well, this has been an incredible conversation. And we seem to be having this kind of conversation in a variety of places. You've heard about several of them already. I'll tell you, one of the things that I personally got is just this idea that this requires work, that this just doesn't happen. And I've said this a couple times before. Any of us can have success by accident. You can go to a gas station and pay instead of at the pump and purchase a lottery ticket, scratch off the right numbers and win millions of dollars. I mean, that's success by accident. The question is, how do you have success on purpose? How do you say, this is what I'm trying to achieve, and set a course of action in place to ensure the probability that you will achieve that goal, whatever that goal might be, whether it's money, whether it's health, whether it's a relationship, whether it's anything. This formula seems to be working for millions of people all over the world and throughout history. And as my brother likes to say, it's not possible that this process works for everyone except you. This process just seems to work for everyone. My name is Galen Bingham. I'm the leadership strategist, and I'm CEO of Kiln Global Coaching and Consulting. You can reach me in a variety of places, but primarily just go to www.galenbingham.com. And you got access to my Instagram page, my Facebook page, Twitter. All of that is primarily at Galen Bingham. But my latest passion is a brand new podcast that was launched at the beginning of this year called Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. And just would really encourage you to check that out on any platform and see if it might be an inspiration to you. I'd like to leave you with a quote, and this is a quote from Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who's the author of, or the co-author of Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, which was written in 1991, so celebrating its 30-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. And he said, success by its very nature demands a period of overcoming, a process by which we become strong in broken places. And I think that is so true. This book really is the formula for how do you become strong? How do you overcome? How do you become strong in broken places? And how do you build up the faith that will allow you to still have confidence in the vision that you've been given until you can see actual evidence that vision is coming true. So that is it. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone that was able to watch and join us live on several of the streams. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. That's how you can watch us currently. We're going to be expanding to other platforms as well, because we want to give you the opportunity to interact with us. And until next Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which you will be joining us again, we want to encourage you to get a copy of this book if you haven't already, and don't just leisurely read it, really get into it so that you can be on the path of thinking and growing rich. Until next time, take care.